Whittle Sticks, and we're gonna go over doing a Martin setup. Now this is a little different Martin setup because this is the owner of this guitar. This is a Martin D28, has got Parkinson, and he's losing the strength in his hands. So we've got to make this action as low as possible. Now, I know that's always the goal, and you always want that nice low action on guitars. But this is one where we have to get as close as possible without buzz. So we're even going to go down in string gauge to get this a lighter action so this customer can play it easier. So that is the goal here. And so what we have is we have a guitar that needs a little bit of love. This is a 70s guitar. It's got the Grover milk bottle tuners on it. Customer has owned it its entire life. And it's now right at that edge of like, it might need a neck reset. We do have a guitar that has a little bit more relief than it should have in it, but this is just one of the reinforced necks. It does not have a truss rod in it. So I can't adjust that your normal way. We also have, but we can adjust this a little differently too. We've also got a few frets that need to be replaced. Normally I would like to do them all, but this one really only, like the first, I would say 7 frets need to be replaced. The rest, the player really doesn't play up here. These frets are in really good shape. So I am just going to do a partial refret, which is not my favorite to do, but it's doable. The other thing we're going to do is we're actually going to shave the bridge. Now, I know that's a little controversial that way, but this is one of those guitars where this is a thicker Martin bridge. So it definitely can go down a little bit. Martin's minimum spec bridge is 5/16, which this is a little bit over. So we can actually still keep in Martin spec because Martin actually makes that bridge for guitars just for this reason that you don't have to do the neck reset. And it'll work fine. So we're going to shave the top, a little bit of this bridge off so that I can bring that saddle down just a little bit, and we'll be able to put this right into spec as far as number-wise. And then this guitar neck will need to be reset at some point, but that'll be years down the road. So it gives some more life to this guitar. Like I said, it's a spec Martin bridge that's at that height. So it is going to be just fine. So we're going to do a little close-up view real quick and show you what we're looking at. So right here, you'll see we've got some pretty good notches down those frets. And then down here, you'll see they are pretty well in great shape. Need a little buffing and polishing, but that's all to do. So obviously has a lot of playing chords down here, have just run down to where I can't level that fret enough to get that out and not have it too low. And then you'll see the bridge is in good shape. It's not a huge tall bridge, but it is taller than some Martin spec. So that's where we're just going to shave the top of this off so I can drop that saddle even lower. But yeah, let me put you back where you were and let's get started. Now, some of the first things I'm going to start doing with a lot of these is, and I've done this a little bit, never showed it, but I figured I did show it a little bit on this one, is I'm actually going to go through and make my measurements beforehand so I remember what these measurements were before I start. So I'm going to take, we got 6/64s. 3/32. On the treble side, which should be the bass side, and the bass side is 1/8. So it definitely needs to come down. Nut action isn't going to much matter because it's going to get a new nut. Well, not a new nut, but new fret, so then I'll have to reset that anyway. No body damage. It looks great. One little ding in the top. Other than that, this thing is in pristine shape as far as that goes. So what we need to do there's no electronics. I will check the bridge plate and stuff like that here in just a minute. But we are going to be doing a new frets. Okay. All right. There's the start of that. Let's start stringing it down and let's have a look. See what we got going on. So we're going to take this. Ooh, that's the dead one. Got to get that on the charger. Let's get the strings off, and we will have a look at this thing, see what she needs. You can hear that G string was just a little tight. Had that little squeak as I let it go. Grab my cutters here that wandered away. That saddle is tight, so I will need to get out something else for that. In the meantime, let me grab a baggie. Bridge pins in there. Saddle in there. There are no shims under there, so that's good. Okay. So now we're going to get these out of the way, and we're going to start looking at these frets. And I'm going to stick those down inside the sound hole for right now, just so I know what string gauge was on it when I started. Now, let's have a good look at these frets. So obviously the second fret right here, we have a bad notch at the E string and B string. We've got same thing on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. So it looks like after that there's a slight there, but it's not anything I'm too worried about. So now I think we are going to go ahead and we're going to pull those 7 frets. We're going to replace those to get those back into working action. Because these notches here definitely are just, they've gone too low. I'm not going to have enough fret left over. You can kind of see here that these are pretty close already. There's not a lot of fret wire sticking up right there. And then, like I said, we'll shave this bridge here a little bit. And I think between those two things, we can get this action just right where it needs to be. So, okay, all right. Let me pull out some tools, and we're going to start pulling these frets right here. All right, let's pull some frets. Now, I actually use the little gun thing like this. It's actually just an old style soldering iron. This thing is literally from the 70s. And as you can see, I took and I cut the connection. You know, normally these connect to get hot to make the solder, and we're actually going to make the fret wire become the rest of this linkage. So we actually just take this. I have filed 2 little notches in the end, so it comes and sits right down there. Pull the trigger, and you won't be able to hear it, but it actually hums a little bit when you got a good connection. And we're going to just let this heat that fret up. Nope, you can actually see the little bit of smoke, a little bit of bubbling as the all the old finger grime and stuff comes out of there. And this just kind of heats up. If there was any glues in there, it's going to burn those glues out. And it also just kind of warms the oils up in there. You can see that little bit of light smoking. That's just kind of the finger goo coming out of there. Now I can take these fret pullers and go just like that, and it pulls out nice and clean. So definitely a suggest. Like those are really nice. Let me grab a little something to drop these into. And let's do the next one. I gotta come up with a hanger for this thing. There's that good bubbling. A little bit of smoke. And that one's done. Let's see. I'll figure something out here eventually. And we just go through and do this fret to fret for all these that I'm going to pull. Now, because I'm only doing a partial refret, rather than a full refret, I won't be doing a whole lot of board leveling. Because it's really hard to level half a board with the frets in it, if you know what I mean. This board does look in incredibly good shape, though. This guitar has been, you know, kept really well. So I will do a little bit of cleanup on the board where these frets are gone, but I really won't need to do much because the neck looks in really good shape. There's 4. All right. And last one. And this one is kind of questionable. Like, I definitely could probably leave this one. But it's got enough muffing that I think it'll be hard to blend. Like, it does have a little bit of trenches in there. And so then I end up taking... This is one where I would end up taking more out of the new frets than I would really want to get it to go down to get rid of the little things that are in this one. So I feel like it's better just to pull this one fret, this kind of transitional one. And the next one that has even less dents. You know, this still has just the slightest dent on the high E, and that's it. I feel like that'll be a lot easier to blend in than one that has dents in both spots. So that's why I'm taking this one. You could have, like, I definitely probably could have just done it with the 6, but these frets would have been a little lower spec than I would like, because I want to keep as much meat on these lower frets as I can. So that's where we're going to stop, is right there. So let's replace these right here, and we'll shave that bridge. And we'll get it strung back up, and I will have to do some work on the nut as well. So give me 1 second. Let me grab the fret wire. Okay, so now we got the fret wire. Here's the stick of fret wire. We're going to take and get it bent here real quick and get it to the arch we need it. Need to flatten this out just a little bit more. Let's get this started. Simply just put it in the little bender here. And it's not really going to show up very well in this camera, but it goes in straight one side and curved the other. And I like to run them through back the other direction real quick. I'm definitely going to need a little bit more curve than that. Yeah. And I actually over radius these just slightly so that when we put it in there, it helps keep those ends down. Double check that curve. That's right at the curve. That is the perfect curve for that. And so now I'm just going to go just a touch more, just so I have a slight over curve. Like I said, I just do that to keep those ends I feel like it helps keep those ends kind of tucked down into place. There we go. Like that. So it's a little over radiused. Not by much, as you can see here. Like it's pretty close. Okay, so now we're going to take, I got these little I call them scuffy pads. I'm just going to take and kind of clean up that area real quick. I pulled these frets. And I'm actually going to use this, go down across the other frets for a second and just kind of get all the old corrosion off. And this will even up the pattern and the look of the board and the frets. And now I'll go over all these lower frets again now after all this. So now I'm going to take my even finer one. And this is really just going to kind of help shine that board back up. Kind of clean all that up. You'll see that that board now has a very nice sheen on it. You can start to see the reflection of my fingers in the board, so you know you got it. You got it where you need it. Like I said, and this is just going to kind of help clean all this like old corrosion off these old frets. And I'll go back through with my other stuff and buff these other frets so everything matches in the end. But this is just going to give that board all a really nice sheen and look. There we go. Now we're going to clean these slots out real quick, make sure they are the right depth, and we'll start fretting. So I actually just used one of the little StewMac cleanout tools. Nothing crazy, because the tangs are pretty much the same width, so I don't really need to go in and you know, kind of re-slot anything. Just want to make sure that there's no like big chunks of dust or crud sitting down in these slots. These are all feeling really good. They pulled really clean. So that's the, you know, if they pull clean, then you really don't have to worry about too much as far as this goes. Okay. There we go. That looks good. So now I'm actually going to do, I like to hammer in frets. That's just the way I prefer to do it. I have the jaws. If they for some reason are not seating while I'm hammering, I will use the jaws to put them in. Now I've made a little adaptation for my total vise system where I have a little hole down here on my neck rest, which I don't know if you can see or not. I drop in a little piece of all thread. I'm going to have to loosen this up so I can lift that up just enough to drop that in. And now I lift this up and I set that right there, and I'm just going to give that a nice little tighten up. Now mostly all I'm doing there is I'm just going to be supporting the neck. So when I hammer down on this, it's going right down through this into the total vise system. And then I'm also going to set up the other leg, the prop for the total vise. so that this guitar does not wobble while I'm hammering in frets. Let's put that right there, cinch that down. Now this is just like this neck is being supported on the floor. There is no give to this at all, so it'll really let me put these in well. Actually, I'm going to move that just slightly further down so I can slide this up underneath the first fret. Now it's too tall. Just readjusted that. Perfect. There we go. Now we are set. Okay. So I do oh, I guess I got to cut them to length before I can hammer them in. Got to keep track of me here. So let's cut a couple frets. Oh, let's see. I want to get rid of that there's a little flat end right there that I don't want to use. Because when you use those fret benders, they always leave that last about ½ inch, just does not get bent. And first fret. So now we're just going to go through, cut these. And so all I'm doing is setting that length, putting the cutters on the other side, just using the actual neck as a deal, as the measure. And now I have a little bit of fret wire left over, which is good, just in case one's not working well. So now I can take these, set it right there, grab one hammer here, give that a little tap, put it right in. Oh, we are getting a little bit of pop back up on one end or the other, so I will need to take and glue these just a little bit. Okay, now I got to shift this. Let me take this out of the way now. Don't need that. Okay, readjusted a few things. Tried something new with my hammers. So now this has 2 plastic ends. And it works better. So we're going to go with that. Why does that not seem tight enough? Okay. Last one. Okay, they are in. I've got to clamp 2 of these because they are just not, that fret end is still loose. And it happens sometimes. So I'm going to use the Jaws system here, and I'm going to go in and clamp these down, sort of like, whoop. Sort of like so, and glue these real quick, and then I'll be back with you. All right, so now we got this, I got these all glued and cleaned up the board a little bit from that, and now we're going to flush cut some ends here. We just want to get these cut as flush as possible. Just like that. I gotta come to the other side. Okay, bumped you, sorry. There we go. Now we're gonna start filing these ends real quick, get these leveled off flush with the board. And gonna start that with a file. I actually just use the StewMac as part of their snap file set. And it works really good because I can just take a hold of this file. And then just walk up to that, and I will get around on this other side here in a minute and get that, now that I'm getting close. Now we're going to get this side. Now, we're going to kind of figure out what their bevel was here. Looking at these other frets. We'll bevel these down now. Not a too steep a bevel. Okay, I think I'm going to get my diamond file to finish that up. Select that bevel there. Okay. We're really close now. So now I like using this same kit came with a diamond file. And I really like this for doing that last little bit, getting up there close. Because even if I hit the finish a little bit right here with that diamond file, it's fine enough grit, I can just go in and kind of real fine grit, buff it out, and a little bit of polish, and we're done. Okay. There we go. A little bit on this side. Smooth that all up. same bevel. Get that little nub right there. Okay, we're done. I will need to buff that out just a little bit down those edges. I usually like to do a little bit of French polish on there too, just kind of buffs everything else up nice. And I'm actually going to take, now I haven't done the level on this, but I do like to just right at first, I like to go through real quick and just knock off this, the edges, the corners on this. Really helps those ends feel a lot better, so when I'm trying to feel profiles and stuff like that, I don't have these sharp corners grabbing fingers. Okay. And I'll go in and fine tune those some more. I'm just kind of knocking the corners off so that it feels good as I'm working it, trying to feel in, you know, trying to feel how these things are sitting. I don't have sharp edges. That's like the first thing I feel is some big burr. Okay. Those blend in. You can definitely tell they're a lot higher in the corners than the old frets, because these definitely have been rounded a lot right here on these corners on these lower frets. But that's okay. We'll get them. So now I'm actually going to take and we're going to start with the calipers and start figuring out some heights. So we're going to look at these, kind of figure out what these are. And see, there's not much difference in height. There's a little bit. So these are sitting, the original ones here at the high point, sitting at 36 thousandths, which is still a good fret, and these are sit at 40. So, I mean, there's only 4 thousandths difference. So that's literally just me kind of getting a general flat on these, and they'll blend right in with the other ones. And so, I'm actually just going to take a very good flat bar, and I'm just going to glance across these. Now there's a little bit of glue on this one, so that's got to come off first. And I'm hitting all 7 frets now, and one down here at the body. I'm going to across these frets, trying to get a nice even pattern across there. I'm hitting that second fret probably the most, it looks like, but I'm hitting the top one too. And I'm hitting all of that other new one there. And I've just glanced into those frets now. Okay, let's check heights here real quick. See where I'm sitting at, see how close I am. Ooh, 36, 37, 37, 38. So we are right there. So I think I'm going to do just another second of this. These weren't going to need much. And I just want to blend them in so that there's not a big discrepancy between the new fret and the old fret. Okay. All right, there we go. Check that one more time. $36.5. 37. 37. Okay. I think I'm going to call that. So one of these is just slightly taller than this fret, but I've got a scratch on it, so that there must be a little undulation in that board right there. But I think that's good. Let me vacuum this off. We're going to mark this and do the recrown. Okay. First, so one thing I like to do is I actually have this pad here. Now this is actually a piece of like they call them a mouse pad or desk pad. That's a big one, and I just cut a piece out of it. I also use like the fake leather, the pleather, whatever they call that. But I really like this one because it's a little denser, and I don't have to worry about it scratching things up as much. So I like this for this. And I can also just take this, move that clamp over to the top side of it, and now that actually helps hold that into place. And I'm good to go. You can also take like pieces of tape and run over this. This just guards the top, so I don't have to worry about scuffing it up with a tool or something like that while I'm doing this fret work. Okay, so now we're going to I just use red. You can use all kinds of whatever colors you want. I just like the red marker. I'm going to go right over the top of all this. And this is just going to let me know when I get to the top of the crown when I'm doing my recrowning here. Okay. Now, I can do this with either the fret shield or with tape. And let's just try this with the fret shield on here. That should fit right down on there. It actually is not working. Huh. That's the 25 and 3. That ain't it either. Okay, well, my fret shield doesn't, it kind of works. But it's kind of off. That's a first one I've never had. It's usually, this is the Martin shield, and it usually fits right on, but down here at the lower frets, it no longer works. It's just slightly off. I could shift it and make it work. Kind of. Huh. That's unusual. All right, well, we're just gonna do the tape method instead of fighting with that. Hang those back up. I do like those. We'll just do the tape method. And I'm actually not going to tape off the whole board. I'm actually just going to tape off either side of the fret and just move the tape down along as we go. And call that good. Now, one thing I will be doing, put these little fingernails on here real quick, keep from getting metal staining. The nickel stains my hands really bad. So this will keep me from getting all funky colored, and yet I don't have to have sweaty hands the whole time working on this thing. All right, there we go. Now, let's get out our fretting file. Now, I actually have changed this changed my method of this just recently, and I actually just use a triangle file. I'll be using several different triangle files. We're going to start with this guy, and I'm actually just going to take this, and I will try to keep my hands out of the way so you can kind of see what's going on. And I'll work this side for a minute. Till I see that red line just become a real faint red line right at the very top. And there's that. Now we're going to take this little sanding stick that I have prepped for this. We're going to sand that. Then we're going to take one of these sticks. We're going to go through basically 4 different grits after that initial filing. And we're going to end up with a beautifully polished fret, just like that. Okay, and now off to the next one. So I move the tape down. Now I take this file and I just start filing. And basically I'm rolling this file as I go, watching where I'm hitting it with the lights, and I'm just trying to get that, bring that curve back up so I don't have a big flat spot on the end. And I just learned this method just recently. I've always, in the past, I've always used the crowning diamond files and going through that method. And, it works great. Don't get me wrong. I just, after trying this for a while, and it's taken me a couple months to kind of get the hang of this. After trying this, I just really liked the results of this method. I feel like I have less scratches in the frets when they're done. I feel like it's quicker, this method, to go through and, just have everything just really dialed in. And I feel like you have a little more control. And when I'm done, this fret is polished. It's done. Like, that's it. I don't have to deal with it again. So it just seems really quick to me to have, instead of going through and leveling all of them at once, I've learned doing it this method, and then this really speeds me up if I'm just doing little spot frets. If I'm just leveling a fret or 2 here and there. I don't feel like I have to get out a whole toolkit. I get out more or less just 3 items and a couple pieces of tape, and I can level and, file that, recrown that fret real quick and move on. I don't have to spend a lot of time, figuring out where, how to get these big scratches out, because I feel like the diamond files, they do work pretty good. I will say, you do definitely get an even crown every time. Where, yes, you can get this method, but it takes some practice. Like I practiced on some other guitars before I started doing it on customers' guitars. And my first couple of frets I did with this were very pyramid shaped. So it definitely was worth doing a little bit of practice on this. But now, I really like those results. That's a really nice looking fret every time. And I'm sure I will get much faster at it as time goes. I'm still, Like I said, I'm only a couple months in, so I'm still kind of learning all the techniques and refining my techniques with this method. And that's okay. That's how you learn and you progress. And you learn new skills. Okay. Getting just about time for a nice piece of paper on this little sander stick. Okay, well, I've got these first 6 done. I will be back when I have the rest of them done, because now we're just repeating the rest of the way down the board. So I will see you back in just a minute. Okay, our fretwork is done. Let me give you a little close-up here. Just give you a real nice... See if it'll focus. Come on, baby. So got a little bit of dirt and dust I got to get off, but the frets are all level and polished and clean and ready to go. So now we're going to take and get this ready for the bridge. And then I will start with, then we'll work on the nut and get you to stop. Then we'll go ahead and get the bridge shaved down here, and then we will go from there. So I will grab my other, I have another deal with the bridge cut out on it, which I'll put on this. This one I like because the sound hole's covered too. I'll get my other one and we'll get this going. All right, we're gonna try recording this without the microphone for just a minute because it is dead, but I wanna get this done. So I will bump the audio if I need to. So we're going to make a mark on this real quick. So we're gonna make this make the height I'm after. Now I'm not taking very much off of this, but it's gonna be just enough that I can make this action where I need it. Okay. Because basically what I'm looking for now is I need a little bit more clearance for the saddle right here. So now I'm actually going to take my compass. So now I'm going to take my compass, so one of these tools, and I'm going to adjust it for that gap. Because I want to keep this the same shape. Adjust that pencil back. So I'm not open yet. That's my shop phone ringing. Okay, so now we're gonna take this. A little bit more. Adjust it to that mark. give me a line there. So now I can match that same curvature all the way across, and I can see where I'm going to. Now, like I said, I'm only taking off maybe a millimeter, so like not even a 16th. Like I'm really not taking off very much, but that's enough for me to get the clearance that I need for this. All right, so we're gonna start with a plane, if I can find it. There it is. Okay. All right, I'm back. Thought I better grab the cover before I got too carried away. A little bit more. Okay. All right, we're getting close to our line, so I'm going to switch over from the plane. We're going to grab a couple files. And we're going to grab a double cut. Okay, now we're going to use a single cut file. Now this one is actually, this file has a double cut and a single cut. So I'm using the single cut side. So now we're going to take a bunch of those filing marks from the double cut file out. That's looking pretty good. Okay, now we're going to redo that beveling on there. And I like to do that beveling with actually a hand drill. very repeatable and very controlled. There we go. It's looking pretty good. Sneak up on it to make sure that it looks consistent with the rest of them. There we go. Now we got the beveling back. Now we can do some nice sanding in there. Round that front edge again. Blend that in. Okay. Now, this is where, kind of a weird thing to use these for, but these work really well, is the fret erasers for this, because you can get a very nice sheen and a very rounded kind of edges to this. So you just take this, then I will take this and I'll go buff this bridge, and we'll get it back to the full sheen so you can't really see that I did work on it. There's the 400. See, we're starting to get back to it. See, we're very close now. Very close to the same sheen. I'm going to take a little bit of this. This is a finished paper. For actually doing finish work. And this is 1000 grit as well. Okay. Now I'm ready to go take it back to the buffer, and I'm just going to go take that and I'll be right back with you. Okay, now we can see we got the sheen back. So now it's just as, you know, the resurfaced is just as shiny as the old. I'm actually just going to take and oil all of this board, which is going to help and just kind of even out everything again, even more. And there we go. Now you have a bridge that has been shimmed down shave down just a little bit so we can get the accurate height. And it still looks great. I'm just going to clean a little bit of rouge out that was inside the tuner holes here. Okay. All right. Time to put a saddle and some strings on this. See what she does. So now I'm going to go on the inside, get out my bag o' tricks. And see, oh yeah, we can shave some off this now. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to look in my book and see what those old dimensions were. And then that'll tell me how much I need to take off the bottom of this saddle. Okay. Still can't get that thing out. Okay. Okay, so we're going to make one mark on the high. We're going to make a mark for the low. And now we're going to scribe a line. So I know that's how far I've got to take it. And it doesn't look like much, and it really isn't that much. But we were just down to where I couldn't take, you know, if I dropped it that far with the bridge the way it was, there wasn't going to be any break angle left. So let me sand this real quick and we'll put it in. All right, there's the saddle in. Let's throw some strings on it. And we're actually going to throw, I think we talked about this before, we're going to throw 11s on it. So that this will be easier to finger. And I may need to do a little bit of work on the nut. It's close. As I measured it, we should be really close. And so now we're just going to see how close. There's the strings. Let me shift you a little bit and okay, now we're going to take and go There's those three. Oh, my cutters are getting dull. Grab my winder. Here we go. Speed that up. Hearing that pitch go up and down as it slips around the tuners just a little bit. We'll double check that here in just a second. Gonna have to trim that end. Okay. Grab my tuner right here. Yeah, we're good on that nut. That looks good. Okay, now I'm going to release the neck here, so make sure that's not twisting or holding anything. And I'm going to just give this a little look here on the action. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I might could go just a little bit more on this base side. Just a touch, but what I'm going to do now, though, is I'm just going to take this, because these are really close. The numbers on this guitar are right where we want it. We could take the lower side down a little less than a 64th, so not very much. Now this could change just slightly as the string tension takes a hold of this for a little bit. So I'm going to let this sit for half a day, a couple hours, something like that. And then I'll go through and maybe just shave this side down just a touch. But it is really close, and that is a really nice action now. Let me take and pull this out here, and we're going to give it a strum or two. Just kind of give this a, uh-oh, what have I got inside there? Oh, I got the old strings. I'll get those out in a minute. Anyway, so, oh, turn this, take that off. It's dropping pitch as we speak, which happens on these new strings like this. Okay, so I got her all tuned up finally. Got stretched a couple of those strings so they would hold pitch. Got good sustain. Oh, that's a really nice guitar. Okay. Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed watching, getting this guitar all set up. Placed a few of those frets. Those feel really good now. You've got nice playable action on there. It's surprising when those frets get too low, you actually feel like you have to really struggle to get that note right, because you have to push so hard against the board to get that clean. So having really rutted frets sometimes will actually make the action feel like it's harder to play. So anyway, so this feels really nice now, and as you can see, it cleaned up really well. It is in super good shape for its age. It is very clean, very nice guitar. And so if you want to see more stuff like this, like, subscribe, follow along, make some comments, see what else you want to do, and we will be kind to everybody, and we'll see you on the next one.